Hi everyone, I'm Sarah Muliati, and this is Life Edge, because life just doesn't have to be that mediocre. So, as you can see, our co-host Dr. Susan Nash is back. How are you doing,
there.
Susan?
I'm so glad to be here. I was sorry I missed last time. It was a great guest. But we have a great guest today, Justin Womack, who is going to talk to us about the secrets of internet marketing and writing just the right copy.
All right, so let's get started. And we're back. So Justin, can you tell us a little bit about your background and how you got started in online marketing?
Sure. Initially, I guess I got started in the whole online marketing space after I was working behind the scenes for a few prominent seminar speakers down in San Diego and Orange County. So I was brought on basically on the back end of the team, and I was introduced to these concepts like email marketing, like copywriting, like Infusionsoft, which is a CRM software that a lot of speakers and seminar leaders use, especially down in the Orange County area. And I was bombarded with all of this information, all of these things, and I kind of stumbled across the world of copywriting. And I've always been a pretty talented writer, and I was, an honors English student in high school. I had a solid background in writing, and I realized pretty quickly that I had a knack for writing effective sales copy. And as I dove into it more and more, I learned a lot about these techniques of influence and ways or psychological triggers that can be used to really motivate people to action. So a lot of the stuff I do is based on the work of people like Robert Cialdini or Dan Kennedy. So these are some of the influences that have kind of influenced my copywriting.
Okay, so I really want to talk about psychological triggers. And the one that I notice a lot is the FOMO, or fear of missing out. Is that one that you use?
Yeah, definitely. Fear of missing out is a big one. And I think if you wanted to take that and chunk that up a little bit, I would call that a scarcity trigger. So basically, one of the big triggers in influencing people is to establish scarcity, whether it's fake or it's real. And sometimes people will create fake scarcity to develop an urgency of people to take action. So the idea of this is a limited time offer, we could put a time restraint on it. So this is only available for the next 24 hours, so the next 1 hour, something like that. Or there's only 10 units available, so this deal is only available to the first 10 people. And then from there, you can kind of trigger that fear of missing out, because it's like, if you don't act now, you're going to miss out on this incredible deal, and then you're going to be left behind, and everybody else is going to have all the success, and you're going to be left doing what you're doing.
Yeah, that works on me. I've always missed out. No, not really. But it does work. Like, I was thinking yesterday, I was looking at a thing. It said, it was my favorite purveyor of beauty products, and they were going 8 hours left to get free shipping and 20% off, and I was going 20% off, but I already have a year's supply of this stuff. So I guess it works, but what are some of the things that you find are the most effective?
Well, when you have a situation like yours where that 20% offer worked on you, that's a good job by the copywriter, because they established a need when it probably wasn't really there. So they got you thinking about, okay, here's a problem that you didn't even realize that you had, that you don't have enough of this product, and now I'm going to give you a special offer where you can get a ton of it, and you're going to save all this money, but only if you act now within the next 20 minutes, or whatever the scarcity trigger is. And so I think that's a very effective use of kind of establishing a problem, because people respond when they have perceived or real problems. So one of the main tenets of being an effective copywriter is identifying these pain points of what drives people to action and what they're missing out on in their lives right now. So with coaching, or with a lot of these businesses like this, people want to achieve more success, they want to make more money, and using that as a pain point, we can say, are you tired of working the 9-to-5 job, living paycheck to paycheck, not having what you deserve? That's a big trigger, is saying what people deserve. Things like that. Is that helping out a little bit?
Yes, and also, can you explain why so many people believe in reptilian aliens?
Why they believe in reptilian aliens? Because it's an I've actually I know a fair amount about this. I think it was it David Icke that wrote the whole book about the reptilian hybrid shapeshifters that are controlling the government. I think it's it's just fascinating, but it's totally fake, and there's no part of me ever buys into it, but it's kind of entertaining, and it's kind of funny that people actually truly believe it's real, which makes it even more fascinating. So the idea that and it even goes to, like, if you ever heard of, like, the flat earthers, like I actually went.
Those really bother me.
I actually went and looked up. I wanted to watch the video on it. I couldn't figure out why anyone would ever believe this, but after watching the video, it's like, okay, I guess I could see why someone would be suckered into this. There's all kinds of problems with the theory, but it's presented in a compelling way.
Well, I don't know if you've been to the Smithsonian, but I remember when I saw the lunar rover, whatever, in the little pup tent thing, I thought, this is so tiny. Like, how? It's just an incredible miracle. I can see that they can get on the moon, and then, like, I guess according to the flat earthers, they had to go through all these radiation things that would cook them alive. But like, to me, the big challenge would be getting off the moon.
Yeah, I definitely don't have a background in rocket science, so I don't know the science behind all of that. But I do agree that there would be a lot of challenges in pulling off that kind of a mission. So yes, challenging, indeed.
Yeah. So Justin, I was wondering, like, so when you're doing copywriting and marketing, like you said, like, marketing is pretty much manipulation, right? And do you ever have, like, any ethical concerns? Like, do you ever feel, like, kind of bad, like, how you're, like, manipulating people, or is your philosophy more like it depends on what you're promoting? Like, if you're promoting something that's going to help somebody, anyone, anyway, it's good.
That's a great question. The way that it's been presented to me, which helped me kind of get over this as well, is that there's two ways to look at this. If you are delivering a negative product or a negative service, or you're doing a disservice to people and you're using psychological triggers to manipulate them, then yeah, you're doing I would have an ethical problem with that. If I'm delivering something that I know is not going to provide value to people, there's going to be a big ethical dilemma there. Now, if I'm using psychological triggers to help somebody overcome a fear that they have, so, like, for instance, if I was coaching somebody on how to be a public speaker or something like that, and they've been trapped because they've been afraid or terrified to speak in front of large audiences and get their message out to the world, well, if I use psychological triggers and so-called manipulation techniques to influence that person to empower themselves, I would say that's a positive. And one way that it's been framed to me is that manipulation with a positive intent can be thought of as influence. So instead of thinking of it as manipulation, I would call it influence. And if there was a negative intention behind it, then I would use the word manipulation, which because that word does have negative connotations attached to it.
That's true. You could even say you're giving incentive and motivating and incentivizing. And then if that's negative, you could say evilly seducing them into a doomsday cult or something like that.
Well, I mean, I've had it framed like sales is standing for somebody's transformation when they're not ready to stand for themselves. So oftentimes people are just not ready to step into their own power. And so if I have to use a few techniques that are going to get them to step up and do something that they really want to do, but there's just a fear that's holding them back, I might be doing them a service in doing that. Now, I understand if I was going to be putting them into a financial hardship or something like that, that's a whole different conversation. But what I'm talking about really is helping people to get something that they actually want, but maybe they just have fears behind whether or not it's going to work for them.
That makes sense. And also, I think a lot of it, I mean, obviously you do a lot with target marketing and understanding what people's patterns have been in the past. So it's not like you're taking them down a completely different path.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, most people that I'm going to be in contact with are people that have shown some interest in what I do as a service or what product I'm offering. So the people that I'm going to reach out to are qualified prospects that already want my solution. So I'm not gonna offer public speaking classes to somebody that is never steps outside, or like an agoraphobic person that never is going to leave the house. I'm going to find somebody that has a lot of potential. They've been an expert in something. Maybe they have 20 years of experience in one particular niche field, and there's a market for them being able to go out and share that knowledge with the world. And if I can find a person like that and empower them to become a public speaker, that can be a win-win for everybody, because I can make money as them being my client, and they can make a ton more than that if they're able to deliver their message in an effective way and reach an audience that wants to hear it.
Nice.
Also, Justin, I was wondering, so how did you make the jump to starting your own business? Like,
so I'll share a quick story, and this is an interesting story, so it's kind of like surprising. But back in 2014, I was in a major car accident, and if you've ever seen the movie that just came out, Chappaquiddick, which is the one with Ted Kennedy that rolled his car off of a bridge, I was in a similar accident where my car rolled off of a road and landed upside down underwater. And somebody that actually witnessed, yeah, it was intense. It was crazy.
So you were like Mary Jo Kopechne?
What's that?
You were like Mary Jo Kopechne, trapped in a car.
I guess in some ways, but
I didn't mean it like. Well, that's an analogy. Sorry about that.
I was actually knocked unconscious from the crash, and somebody that witnessed it actually dove in and pulled me out of the car. And because the water that I landed in was kind of like creek water, so it was part salt water, part fresh water. It had a nearby like sewage runoff, so it was really filthy water. And I aspirated a bunch of this water. I had these severe lung infections, and so I ended up in ICU for 2 months. So I was actually in ICU for 2 months. I had several surgeries. I was in a coma for almost 30 days, and but the point of all this is that when I came out of it, I had a different perspective on life. And I kind of realized that if I wanted to really elevate my game and do what I wanted to do with this life, I mean, it could have been over right there. It probably should have been over right there. That I have a new opportunity to do what I actually want to do, and that's why I started my own business. I decided to jump into it. I was already close to doing it before this, but that definitely was the kick in the rear that I needed to really move forward on my dream.
That's really inspiring. I mean, I was run over by a car once, and for about 2 weeks after that, I thought, am I really alive or dead? Or did you have that strange feeling?
Yeah, I mean, I still have that feeling sometimes, like, is this, if we ever talk about like quantum realities, you want to talk about like conspiracies and things like that, that there's like every possibility has its own reality, and I'm like, there's probably one reality where I survived this accident, and there's about 99,000 where I didn't make it, but this is the one that I'm living in right now, and yeah, so it's I
had that feeling exactly, that split self, and at times I was thinking, yeah, it felt like I was looking down at myself and thinking, wow, this is like, for at least 2 weeks, I just couldn't believe that I was actually still like alive, and I didn't thank goodness. I mean, my experience wasn't as incredibly intense as yours, but even so, so did you lose your fear? Is that what happened?
Yeah, in some ways. I definitely, growing up, I've always been kind of I think I had a shy person for the most part, so I was more quiet and reserved. So I've made leaps and bounds moving past that and being able to put myself on camera and to really push myself in a way that I wasn't doing before. So that, in that respect, it's helped me because it's like, okay, you have such a limited time here. If you want to make any kind of impact on the planet, you're going to have to get over that and really, share yourself, share your message, share what you have to offer to the world. So in a lot of ways, that's the number one thing it helped me through. Because I've always had a lot of the skill sets and the talents to do my own business, but I just didn't have the confidence, I think, to pull it off. And so coming out of that and having the perspective that, I probably shouldn't be here anymore. And then also hearing that, from all my family and friends that are like, obviously you're probably here for a reason, since so many things had to happen for you to survive. Like this person had to dive enough into the water to pull you out. There happened to be an off-duty lifeguard that was also in the area that gave me CPR. So there's a lot of synchronicities that really came together to kind of keep me on this planet. And then since then, I've gotten married, I've started a business, I've had my first child, who is about to turn 3 months very soon. And so, but what's good about having a child is that now I can pass some of that, you have this responsibility of being this great person, and I can pass some of that on to him now, because I'm like, well, I survived so he could live. So he's the one that's supposed to do all these amazing, amazing things. Takes the pressure off a little bit, right?
That's just mean.
Yeah, right?
Yeah, I see on your LinkedIn profile that you're a master hypnotherapist.
That's true.
I don't know if we would have invited you on if we knew that. Are you going to hypnotize us?
I have a certification.
I'm beginning to confess.
What's that?
I already feel hypnotized and I'm beginning to confess things.
Yeah. I did study. I studied under a NLP, which is neurolinguistic programming seminar leader. So I went and got certified in neurolinguistic programming, which is you can call it the technology behind what Tony Robbins founded his entire business on. So he essentially uses NLP in everything that he does. So I wanted to learn that, and the gentleman that taught me how to be an NLP practitioner also offered a hypnosis course, so I got certified in hypnosis as well. But hypnosis is really not what you think it is. It's not nearly as powerful as it's made out to be in popular media. So I mean, I've watched some of the movies, I've seen it on TV where people are doing crazy things when they're hypnotized. But the reality is that maybe there are some hypnotists that can pull incredible things off like that, but most of it is really just subconscious communication. So you're basically bypassing somebody's critical faculty to land a message deeper into the subconscious mind instead of the conscious mind. So a lot of it has to do with overloading somebody's conscious mind and then landing certain messages that you want to get to them. So it's useful for advertising. It's useful for marketing. So, but yeah.
That's great. Well, can you describe or explain what neuro-linguistic programming is? Because I'm sure that some of our listeners don't know the subtleties, and I don't.
Yeah. So NLP was created, I think, in the 60s or the 70s, and it was founded by a linguist and a mathematician that basically wanted to break down the patterns of successful people. So the whole idea of NLP really is about modeling successful behaviors and breaking down exactly what's in them that makes them work. So when you study NLP, a lot of it is modeling people that have achieved great things. So there's three main people that are modeled if you study the fundamentals of NLP, and there's Milton Erickson, who was a psychologist and a hypnotherapist that was able to help his clients achieve incredible things. And they're all three of these people are psychotherapists. There was Virginia Satir, who was a marriage and family therapist who would achieve things with family systems that really other therapists weren't able to heal. And then the third one, who was the third? Actually, I forget who the third one is off the top of my head right now. But if I think of it, I'll tell you. But essentially, it was breaking down a lot of, especially the language patterns that these therapists were using versus their competitors, and why were these people achieving success with their clients while other ones were not. And so that's kind of where NLP got birthed. And if you study it, there's a lot into like specific language patterns and type of language that you can use that can create like trance states, which is what the modeling Milton Erickson, or with Virginia Satir, it's actually there's something called the meta model where you're bringing people down away from trance states and getting people much more specific. So if somebody's talking in vague ambiguities, you can narrow them down and get down to like the specific thing that they're kind of avoiding in their when they're speaking. Does that make any sense? That was kind of a quick
absolutely.
rendition.
So basically, there are certain kinds of repetitions, and then maybe types of sequences that you use that make the brain go in certain directions.
Yeah, that's a fair assessment. It's looking at, okay, what were these people doing specifically that we can actually break down like in a scientific way and replicate, and how do we create that system? That's the best way I can explain NLP. It can be used for anybody though. So I'm talking about like how the program was created, but people are also modeling, current experts in the world out there. So if you see somebody that's having a lot of success in the world, it's going down and like looking at, okay, like how is this person breathing right now? How are they holding their body? What's their physiology like? What kind of words are they using? What kind of language patterns are they using? If I were to emulate exactly what they're doing, will I get the exact same result? And that's the science behind the whole thing, and that's the theory behind the whole thing. So the idea is if you perfectly emulate successful people's behaviors, you should be able to achieve the same result, and that's what NLP is all about.
Can you give us a concrete example?
Let me think for a second here. So I think I know that God, you're kind of putting on the spot here. Let me get back to you on that for a second to give like a good concrete story example.
Who are some people that you would like to emulate? You have some role models.
Yeah, I mean, there's people in the coaching and seminar world. I actually, I enjoy listening to like Gary Vaynerchuk, the internet marketing guru of sorts, who's all over your Facebook Lives, all over YouTube, all over LinkedIn video, and he's really taken off in the last 4 years as this kind of messenger of entrepreneurship and especially of like hustle and hard work. So I like listening to kind of like what he does and how he puts his message everywhere. He documents every single thing that he does. So the idea of this current model in the marketing world is that people are documenting their whole journey of entrepreneurship, and people can relate to the vulnerability of it. Whereas in the past, people would only present one face. They would present their expert face to the world. But to actually see people on the journey going through it, and especially if they come out on the other end and they're hugely successful, the fact that you've documented this whole journey will make it much more interesting for people to go back and watch, and you can find a huge audience perhaps later on. So
definitely, like a reality TV type of thing, your own reality show.
Yeah.
Well, I studied, I did my dissertation on the use of the apocalyptic narrative to manipulate people and as it was used by doomsday cult leaders. Mm-hmm. And, I mean, there's a negative use of certain kinds of, I wouldn't say I would go as far as to say it's neurolinguistic programming, but it definitely combines a narrative with people's needs for relatedness and security and being absolved of having any kind of fear of starving. Yeah. But they break them down by combining long sessions of preaching, and I say this happens with political leaders too, and totalitarian states. But they also deprive them of food and sleep.
Yeah, that's a whole nother level when they're doing the sleep deprivation. But when you're talking about like apocalyptic, I imagine you're saying that people are creating this threat of the apocalypse and that they should be storing items and preparing themselves for a doomsday scenario. Like that kind of thing, I mean, it does fall into the realm of a lot of the marketing stuff I'm talking about, but it's establishing, what they're doing is they're taking it to another level. They're establishing a conspiracy almost, which is actually an effective motivator for people. And I think that's used a lot. I mean, you're seeing it in the current political landscape. You've heard this whole thing with InfoWars and Alex Jones, and how that's been taken down. But the idea that there's these people that are against you, and that you are part of this like resistance movement of any kind for anything out there, is the idea of kind of getting people onto this conspiracy realm, and it can be very powerful to then sell them products. Like if I say that, you know, people are hiding the fact that the U.S. dollar is about to collapse, and all, you know, and there's going to be chaos in the world, and only the people that have kept their guns and the people that have kept all their things are the ones that are going to survive. I could then use that to sell more of those products, and that's a terrible use of these strategies, and it's a horrible thing. But that's the idea, and that's what people are doing. And so, I mean, yes, I'd like to see these kind of techniques and these kind of things used for positive influence, and not to take people to a lower frequency and try to sell products because of some fake conspiracies that they're creating in the world. Does that make sense?
Well, yeah, and it's interesting because, well, this has happened a lot in other cultures as well, with the conspiracies and people believing rumors and rumor mongering. But then it's really, really hard to stamp it out, because the minute that you sanction somebody, then you make it forbidden fruit.
True.
So it's really weird.
Yeah, that's the people. If you tell people they can't have something, they want it sometimes. So there's a whole personality type that you could call like mismatchers. You tell somebody they can't have something, and then they want it more than ever. So that works on some people, not on everybody, but that is a very powerful technique for some people. And that can be, it's funny, in sales even, that could be used for the people that fit that personality profile. You could tell them that, you know, currently I just don't have room to take you on right now. I have so many clients on. I'm not able to do this. I think you'd be better fit for this other person. And if it's that personality type, they'll come back at you and they'll sell themselves on you and why you should work with them. So it's powerful for a certain personality type. For other people, it wouldn't work at all. But
yeah, and I imagine as a dad now you'll see that a lot with your kid, right?
Yeah.
You can't have
yeah,
it.
The
He's
mismatching.
Gonna want it more. Right. Oh, and actually, how I met Justin is actually at our local library, the Camarillo Library. He is doing a podcasting for business seminar, and he actually runs his own podcast. It's like a top business podcast on iTunes. Do you want to tell us about your podcast?
Sure. Yeah. I have a podcast called Marketing Geeks, and we generally record a session once a week. Usually it's toward the end of the week, but we geek out on all things marketing. So we're sharing about current events, and then we're picking particular subjects. Like we've done episodes on influence tactics, we've done episodes on copywriting, LinkedIn marketing, Facebook marketing, webinars, taking all these different internet marketing strategies to market. So it's a fun show. Andres and I are both big, huge movie buffs, and we geek out over movies, we geek out over marketing, and it's a lot of fun. So it's something that I've enjoyed doing. And then, like you mentioned, I did do a seminar at the Camarillo Library here, where I did a talk on how to create your own podcast. And this was largely tailored to beginners that don't know how to get their podcast on iTunes. They don't know how to get the right equipment. They don't know the basics of doing their own podcast. So that was fun for me. It's a good use of building my own reputation in the community, as well as finding some people that might want to hire me later on, because oftentimes I've found in my life that if you give something away for free, most people still don't want to do it. So they'll still hire you. They'll still hire you to do it for them, even if you tell them exactly what they need to do. It's kind of been my experience.
That's a really good point. And, you know, the thing that I find to be interesting is that internet marketing you'd think would be kind of the same, because the internet is out there, but it's a constantly changing and shifting entity. And what do you see as some of the new trends?
Yeah. What do I see as the new trends right now?
Yes.
Well, email marketing is changing a bit. So back in like 2014, 2015, the model was that you went to a landing page, which is you click on an ad, you go to this page, that would be the landing page, and somebody would offer you like a free report or some kind of they call it an ethical bribe or a lead magnet to get you on their email list. But in the 4 years that have passed here, email marketing has exploded, and now everybody's emails are so inundated with these marketing messages that they don't have the same power that they did a few years back. So it's a lot harder to get somebody's email address these days, and you have to really up the value of what you're offering them. So the things that used to work, like a free report, aren't seeing the conversions that they used to see. So instead of that, offering like a video where you're going to teach something to them, and it's gated behind them opting in with an email address, or something a little bit more powerful than like the PDF that used to get the job done really effectively. If the PDF has like the perfect headline and the perfect ad copy, it could still work, but it's not as effective as it used to be. So we're moving a bit away from that. You're seeing more text message marketing on the scene right now, and I think that won't last very long, but it's because it's so disruptive, and it is kind of annoying when it happens. But the numbers don't lie that it's the open rate on text message marketing is significantly higher than it is on email right now. So from a marketing standpoint, even though it's annoying and it probably won't be there in 5 years, it's relatively effective.
How about experience marketing? And the reason I'm saying this is like, I've noticed I've had good luck when I combine something like a free workshop that's a face-to-face thing, like on machine learning or something, and they just sign it through Eventbrite, and then it is coupled with something else for the future. And then I'm amazed at how fast things fill up, and especially like using that combined with LinkedIn. So I'll put the thing on Eventbrite and then put a post on LinkedIn, and it kind of takes off. Do you do things like that?
Well, I'm not sure I completely understand what you're saying there, but what I have done, which I find to be very effective, is this is kind of going into the seminar model, would be to do something like on Meetup or Eventbrite, have an event, a live event, and use that as a lead generation tool. So essentially, you're giving out a free event, almost like what I would have done at the Camarillo Library with a podcasting talk, doing something like that, and then on the back end of it, making an offer to a bigger course, and then taking them through a step-by-step kind of customer journey where they go from free events to maybe paid events to then maybe private coaching package, something like that.
Exactly. That's brilliant. I love that approach that you're talking about, because then they get an emotional connection when they actually like commit to that.
Live events are one of the fastest ways to grow a business are through live events still. So they're probably a little bit harder to fill than they were a few years back, again, because even they have a lot of competition. But when you get people in the room and they get a chance to meet you one-on-one and you can develop a relationship with them, the numbers on sales are pretty effective in live events. So I've had a lot of success running small events and turning around with pretty good profits.
All right, so we're getting close to the end of our time, so we'll ask the special question. If you could name one thing in life that you feel like has given you an edge, what would it be?
Given me an edge. I guess I'm going to say it's the NLP training that I did, but specifically around speaking training. So they have techniques that they teach and on how to use NLP to become a better speaker, and I think that's been the top thing that's helped me kind of break out of my shell and attract more people to me and create my own like little tribe.
That's really cool.
That's nice.
Yeah. So what's the best way for viewers to get a hold of you if they want to learn more? Yeah.
The best way would be to go to my website. So you can go to coachingbizmastery.com. It's on the bottom of the screen there. So right under my name, right down there. Hold on. There it is. There it is right there. You can go to my website and you can connect with me there. If you can also go to, I have a website, timewithjustin.com. So timewithjustin.com. If you go there, you can actually it'll link to my calendar and you can book a 15-minute call with me. So if you want to connect, you can go there, schedule a call. I'd be happy to spend 15 minutes with you and we could talk about all things marketing and what your current needs are and whether or not I'd be able to help you.
Sounds great. So
This is
thank you so
great.
much for coming on with us, Justin.
Thank you.
Really great.
It's been awesome.
And thank you.
Yeah, thank
Susan.
you.
It's always a
Great,
pleasure.
great suggestions,
You're welcome.
insights.
All right. And for all of you watching out there, be sure to like and subscribe if you like what you see. And check out Justin's website. Contact him if you're interested. And another thing, make sure to subscribe to our newsletter if you want to receive updates on our new videos and everything. So we'll see you next week on Life Edge. Bye now.
Bye.
Bye.